So we need to correct the saturation of each element, because as you can see here, some parts are having a lot of color, like this building have a lot of yellow, the other building has a lot of yellow, the jacket of the man has a lot of yellow, some greens in the midground. So I will correct the saturation of each element, try to blend everything together. This will be made by the hue saturation adjustment layer. So let's start with the sky. This is the first layer. I will create a hue saturation adjustment layer and create a clipping mask, and then let's press into this finger button, and let's choose specific color and drag to the left. As you can see here, when I choose the cyans, you can see here is cyans, and now I'm decreasing the saturation because I wanted to create a dramatic sky with low saturation, low blue saturated color. So next I will correct the colors of the moon. So let's decrease the saturation of this blue color that we have put to the moon, and we will do the same into the inner and the outer glow. Very good. Then press OK. Now this moon part needs to be edited, so I will just create a group for the moon and create a mask, and in this group I will just erase some parts because I don't like how complete it is. So I will use the soft rounded brush and using the mask, and let's erase some parts like so. So we'll make the moon like it's fading through the clouds. I guess this is cool. This is also initial thoughts. Maybe I will change it later, but for now it's cool. Next we will correct the saturation of the mountains. I guess the mountains are good to go. We don't have a lot of colors there, so the saturation is pretty good. So let's go straight to the midground section. This section we will decrease the greens of the plants. So I will create a hue saturation, press into this button, and just press and drag to the left. Simple as that. As you can see here, when we choose specific color like this one and decreasing the saturation, it blends in a better way with the surrounding parts. Very cool. Let's decrease these cyans, and now we're good to go. Okay, now let's create a duplication from this hue saturation, and let's put it, press Alt and drag, and let's put it into the other horizon layer, and it's good. It's not that much effect, so it's okay. So next let's go to building number 3. Do the same thing into the building. I'll create a hue saturation adjustment layer, create a clipping mask, and let's press and drag to the left. I'm now decreasing the greens. Maybe I will choose another spot to decrease the yellows. Yeah. And I've chosen another spot. I'm now decreasing the yellows because, as you know, the plant has 3 colors, has yellow, has green, and has some cyan color. So now when I have chosen this yellowish greeny color, I'm just selecting the greens, but we need also to select the yellows and to decrease its saturation, maybe the cyans also. Very cool. I guess we need to adjust this part a little bit more. Let's get back to the curves to adjust the lightness of the build. That's what I was talking about. You will always go back and forth, adjust curves, adjust the saturation. It will not be final, and that's okay, totally okay. Now it's time to add a hue saturation for this rocky surface. So I'll just create a hue saturation and we'll do the same thing. Select these yellows and drag saturation down. Very good. I guess this part needs to be edited of the Great Wall of China. So let's get back to the background section. Let's go to the hue saturation. I've forgotten to create a clipping mask, so let's create it. And let's decrease the saturation of these reds or yellows. Yes, the reds. That's better. Now let's go to the building number 2. We have a lot of yellow color here. There is vivid colors in this image. So I will start with these yellows. I'll decrease the saturation and maybe the reds also, I guess. Yeah, let's decrease the saturation of the reds and these greens and some cyans. You know, I will get back some colors because I don't want it to be like totally missing the colors. So just to get back to this part and decrease the saturation of these blues, and we're good to go. And let's do the same thing to the rocky surface. Hue saturation, drag and pot and drag to the left. I guess it's already desaturated, so it's okay. Let's go straight to building number 1, our hero. Create a hue saturation. We need a lot of adjustments here. So let's decrease the reds and the yellows and also the cyans or the greens and also the cyans. So we have decreased the saturation of almost all colors. We'll do the same thing into the rocky surface. The hue saturation, create a clipping mask and put it above the layer and create a clipping mask. And let's choose the greens and cyans. Yes, maybe the yellows. Yeah, this part. Now it's time to go to the bridge. Let's go to the bridge using the hue saturation and let's decrease the saturation of this part. This is some yellows, there are some greens. You know what? I'll just go to the master and it will decrease the saturation of the whole image because it doesn't have a lot of color. Very cool. Now it's time to work on the foreground elements. I will start with the guy. I will create a new group and let's name it man because I don't want to miss it again between layers. And now let's create a hue saturation, create a clipping mask, and let's decrease the saturation of this image. This is the first one at the top right. Let's decrease the saturation. I will just duplicate this one. Duplicate it, put it here, and let's see. This is the left bottom one, and let's go to this one. We'll decrease the saturation, not so much. We need to maintain some colors. And let's go to this one. Also decrease the saturation. And the final one. Now it's time to work on the saturation of the man. So let's go to the group, the man. And let's create a hue saturation adjustment layer. And let's go to the yellows. Mainly the yellows needs adjustments because it's very saturated. Now the image looks way more blended and unified, but it's a lot vague. It's not contrasty, it doesn't have any colors. So that's what we will do next.